I'm Jessica Minton for IB Times TV, and joining me today is IB Times reporter Christopher Harris to talk about his article, The Secret Life of Banking and How People Bank in War Zones. So Chris, this is actually really interesting. How do people bank in war zones?
Well, there's a variety of ways that people bank in war zones. For example, places like Libya, you might have a jeweler that deals in dollars, and people go in there with a local currency, or take out dollars, or they can reverse it like that. But there's no actual banking going on as we know it. Anyone can sort of be a bank. Anybody can take money and deal in currency and things like that. That's one side of it. Other sides of it involve places like Somalia, where the World Bank say there is no ATMs and there's no banks in existence. So how do people get money there? What they actually do is there's a system that was set up called hawalas, and basically what happens is somebody, for example, who wants to pay someone in Somalia who's in New York, they'll take it to a vendor. In the case of someone in my story, the vendor was a donut shop in Brooklyn. So what they would do is they take the money in there, this person would text somebody in Somalia, and they would agree to pay the money in Somalia. So the person that was expecting the payment would go to a pre-designated area with a bodyguard and collect the money, and that's how they would get paid. So there's a variety of ways to do it.
And so also, when thinking about war zones, there's terrorists. So how do terrorists get a hold of their money? Do they do like Western Union? Do they have to wire money? How does that all work?
One example that I found was Syrian rebels basically operate on the Turkish-Syrian border, and what they do is they go across to Turkey, where they would receive money from Gulf benefactors, usually in the Middle East and things like that, and then they would smuggle that money back into Syria, take it to the leaders of their group, and who would then buy arms with it and that sort of thing.
So then there's something also interesting about there's going to be some changes because of terrorists using money to be wired to them. What are those changes that are happening now?
Well, since 9/11, everything changed. Years ago, the IRA used to receive money from Boston, and people used to think that was a good thing. They were contributing to something good, Irish independence, or the continuation of Irish independence. After 9/11, everything changed. That money going there, that dried up, and people started to look at it differently. And the same applies to these hawalas, because there's no oversight. They're not tied down with the same regulations that banks are. They're sort of a free-flowing entity, if you like. Anybody can get a hawala, and anyone can agree to this exchange. Banks do have oversight on it, but the worry is that terrorists have taken control of what was originally a very innocent way to get money, and a really important source of income for people in Somalia. Over £100 million, which is $150 million roughly, was paid into Somalia last year just from the United Kingdom. And that's really important for people there, but terrorists have got onto the system and are using it to launder money and bring in money to countries to fund their campaigns.
So when you're in a war zone, really anyone can be a bank. You can be a bank, I could be a bank, essentially.
Yeah, anyone can. I mean, what is a bank?
Right.
We all. I mean, to have a bank, you need a license that's issued by a government. But actually, anybody can really be a bank if you're willing to take risk, and that's what it's all about. That's why you may not see Citibank in some really war-torn countries. Although Citibank do have a good presence in countries with political upheaval, such as Egypt and places like that. Although when things do get bad, they've got strategies to get out of there and ship their money out. I mean, there's specialised companies that will go in, box up gold, box up money, and ship it back to the United States or United Kingdom. But certainly, yeah, anyone can be a bank. It's all about how much risk you're willing to take. Private hedge funds and things like that. I mean, if they want to go into a war zone or somewhere where there's a lot of political upheaval, I mean, they can. There's a lot of money to be made there because what you're putting in, you're getting more out than you're putting in. Whereas in places like the United States, there's a risk in the market, whether you're going to make money or not. So I think in essence, what's good about a conflict zone? Well, there's nothing good about these places, But what's good about it for banks is that they don't have to put a lot of money in, and the gain is usually comes with a lot of growth in the financial market.
And finally, what sort of challenges do you think people are going to face now that there are some changes that are going to start happening?
Well, people will find other ways to do this. I mean, that's always been the way. In places where there's no banks and no money, people have come up with ingenious ways to make that happen. This company that set up the hawalas will no doubt be replaced. I don't know what that is going to be. I imagine that a lot of money will be smuggled in and out of countries. That's what's happening in Egypt. There's a $100,000 limit on taking out US dollars from the country. And for many banks, that kind of limit, or sorry, for many people, that kind of limit is, they exceed that very quickly. So I imagine that this is only going to lead to more illegal activity by stopping this system of hawalas.
Well, that's really interesting. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us.
Thank you.